What is going on, Detroit Sports Nation? AJ Riley with Eric Vincent for your favorite Detroit sports show, Beyond the Box. We are back. We are ready to get going. The NFL Combine has happened. There's been a little bit of controversy with that Combine as well that we're going to get right into right off the rip. We're going to talk about Detroit Lions free agency as well. And then we've got a little bit of a news segment, a little bit of a grab bag, a box of fun, whatever we want to call it. And tonight's topic is going to be this. What's your dirty sports secret? The one thing that you don't want anybody to know. All that's coming at you tonight in Beyond the Box. And Eric, I want to get right off the rip because there's just way too much to talk about when it comes to this one. But Jalen Carter had an arrest warrant put out. He left Indianapolis and the Combine because of an incident that happened involving the death of a teammate and things of that nature. What do you make of this? Let's start off with that. Let's talk about Jalen Carter and the implications of this for this young kid.
The whole thing is shocking. The whole thing is really surprising. I mean, the timing of everything is confusing. His association with it, obviously coming up so close to the draft and obviously the first day of the Combine. Everything layered on top of this is just kind of baffling. Now,
I think but that's what I think irritates me the most. This happened back in the fall, and it gets all of a sudden now we have a arrest warrant the first day of the Combine, the first day of this kid, the rest of his life. This is the moment.
What? 2 misdemeanor warrants, and they made that public, and according to him, there's inaccurate reporting that's being attached to it. Of course. The long statement that came out, yesterday, and I don't blame him. So hopefully, the way it plays out, because again, I can't speculate on what we don't know, but from what it looks like, it's very, very fishy. I'm not saying he did what was responsible or not, but just how it was unfolded. The way it was reported, the way this is all coming out right now just kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
And I got to be careful here because I don't want to make light of the fact that there was somebody who lost their life in this situation. Right. And if he was acting irresponsibly, then he does need to take responsibility for his actions.
Absolutely, I agree.
But outside of that, here's my problem. When we go into draft season, the two big names that we talk about, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, right? McShay comes out and says this kid has character issues a while ago. Then it comes out and is revealed the kid's using his scholarship money to pay for food for one of his teammates who wasn't on scholarship. And maybe that went against team rules, and maybe some would consider that a character issue or whatever. But why are we doing this? I understand needing to get people information, but defaming character in order to achieve that end seems out of bounds.
We're in the era now where dissecting a player's personality and their, the inside, who they are, is more speculated than ever now in 2023. But, I mean, obviously, in the NFL, though, they don't really care too much about it. I know we're going to pick apart about the Lions angle, what they should do. But to me, considering it 2 misdemeanors, I mean, again, we don't know how serious his involvement is. Hopefully, if it's not involved with, obviously the death of who was involved in, the horrific aspects of it. However, I don't think this is going to move the needle too much in terms of what his stock is going to be.
Well, and that's kind of, I think, the natural progression and the natural thought process, right? Is what does this do for his draft stock? Now, when this first came out, you and I were talking on Wednesday, and we said, the first thing I told you was, I don't want to make light of the situation, but this could be the best thing that's happened for the Detroit Lions. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And in that sense, I can't really be too upset about it.
No.
If he's there at 6, do you have any issue drafting him at 6? Barring something horrific coming out, right? This was completely irresponsible. Laramie Tunsil
under the influence.
Laramie Tunsil with the bong rip the night before the draft, or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
Do you hesitate at this point to take him at 6?
No. No, again, we don't know the full involvement for it, but again, if it's just based on what we know now, I wouldn't hesitate on him falling at 6 and possibly bringing him in. I don't think that would be an issue. I think we have the right leadership on this franchise to even like say that he is kind of like a guy that's, that needs some, tuning and growing up. I think the Lions are establishing a culture where you can put guys under the wing of a guy like an Aiden Hutchinson and the veterans that they bring in and the coaching staff that's so player friendly to get him in the right path and focus on football and keep his, mind in the right place where it's supposed to be. But I don't gamble. I'm not looking at it as a gamble. I think that's a blessing if he would fall to 6.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a guy, 16 tackles last year, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Not eye-popping numbers, but that's not really his job, right? His job is
not at all.
Run. His job is to create double teams, to create opportunities for your edge players. Just looking at his draft profile, unparalleled pop in his hands, tosses 300-pounders with one of his mitts is what PFF says. It's a very strong guy. Does everything quickly, does not move like a defensive tackle. That's the type of athlete you want if you're a Detroit Lion. And depending on how all of this shakes out, if he's there at 6, you don't pass.
No, you cannot.
You do not pass.
You cannot. He's like, that would be a blessing. And again, this is coming in a draft where a lot of teams around 10 are going to be looking to try to move up for those 4 quarterbacks. So it's going to be an opportunity where that could happen or not. And this on top of it now.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a wild update to shake. I was shocked when I read this report.
Shocked. And again, I think I was more shocked at the timing. And I understand that there's a process, and I understand that these things take time, and everything has to go through the judicial process. I totally understand that. The day of the combine seems oddly coincidental. Not to mention the day of the combine where it was player interviews.
Right.
That's just like, what are we doing to these guys?
I can't make sense of it. Again, I understand where like some things would be like if it was something like a DUI or like somewhere forbid of taking some as the result was somebody's life being resolved. Again, we don't know his involvement in that. Regardless, I don't think what he's being looked at for now would be something to like kind of push back against.
How much,
especially on the day of it.
How much do you think? And I think this is a point that some people have brought up as well. How much do you think that the Henry Ruggs situation plays into the thought process of teams when they're looking at a Jalen Carter now?
I think you have to keep it under consideration at this point because that was
brutal.
Another shocking situation. I mean, guy so young to be doing something so dumb, and considering what the result was, which is the lives lost and his career lost essentially, and life itself. But I think you kind of have to take it serious, which is maybe why it came out at this time. But it just leaves us with more questions than it does answers. And like, that's the unfortunate part about it. He spoke on his innocence. So again, maybe there's something to be said about it, but let's hope that's the case, because if it does come out that it's something bigger than what he's saying, that's not going to turn out good. Then it's going to become a problem, because sometimes it's like where the cover up is bigger than what the lie or what the incident was. If that's a case of what we're looking at, then that could be something too that maybe teams look at as like kind of a knock or a flaw.
Yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see what happens here in the next couple of weeks, to be honest with you, as far as the draft goes, as far as how this affects his stock and how it impacts the Detroit Lions. And that's ultimately what we are here to, figure out and discuss, is how does this affect the Detroit Lions?
You know what? I'll even double down, because we just talked about this the other day.
Yep.
I'm still not even against trading up for him. Honestly, you're hoping still, obviously, because this is, it is what it is, and these kind of things drop stock, but I'm still not against the opportunity or the option of going up to get him, just to solidify that future. I'm not against it.
Okay. Well, I can't say that I am either, but I see, to me, I'm not really. Hold on.
Yeah, because that
again, and it's going to go into our free agency talk.
Okay.
I told you, if they shore up things during free agency, then yeah, use the draft capital to trade up. However, if I'm trading up for Will Anderson. I like Will Anderson more than I like Jalen Carter.
Okay, that's
Does
fair.
that make
I'm
sense?
with that. Yeah,
And so
I'm good with that.
I want to get into that free agency talk, but before we get into that free agency talk, on our last show we did the 5 most beloved Detroit sports athletes, and we said we would put a poll out there for anyone to vote on.
Cannot believe y'all.
And we don't have a small sample size, Eric. We have 284 people who voiced their opinion. And overwhelmingly, the most beloved Detroit sports athlete is Jamal Williams. Not Kate Cunningham. 88% of 284 people. I'm not a math guy. Not even going to try and figure that out. They said Jamal Williams is the most beloved Detroit sports athlete, which is a perfect segue into let's talk about free agency. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions' perfect off-season free agency. What moves do we want to see them make in free agency? And we have Jamal Williams on both of our lists. So let's just get that out of the way right now.
That's return of the love
Let's
back.
get Jamal Williams off of our list. We think that the perfect free agency for the Detroit Lions involves Jamal Williams. Why is he on your list?
He's on my list for a few reasons. One, we've talked about the Lions Super Bowl window, and not even the Super Bowl. Let's say their contending window.
Contention, sure.
I think it's about 2 or 3 years, and he's 26, 27 years old. He's still young or old enough to where you can still, have value in some of his last prime years as a running back. That position is devalued. To me, as you talk about like the least valuable position, running back is showing to be a lot less valuable than a wide receiver. That's my opinion of it. But I think you still have not a running back. No way.
Anyways,
no way.
We're not getting into that.
No
this
way.
Is free agency talk.
Please, fine.
Free agency talk.
I believe.
We'll talk about wide receivers at another
yes.
time.
I believe he's shown that he can be that, that short yardage back that the Lions have wanted and looked for a long time. He played that role well. He's obviously, as we've seen, spoke by the people, a very likable player in the fan base, even though my team is looking into the results of those votes to make sure there was no tampering and illegal activity and corruption going on. We'll have the results soon. But his also veteran leadership, I think, attached to that with the young team is important for a team like the Detroit Lions to have. So he's at the top of that list. And it was reported they've already started contract discussions
I did see that, and that's awesome. And part of the reason he's on my list is the number that's attached to him. Market value on SpotRec, $4.1 million per year. I feel like that's reasonable. I feel like you could give him a 2-year, $9 million, 4.5 per to come back and get you through that contention window 2 years. You probably don't need to sign him for 3 because of the wear and tear of a short yardage back like that. But 2 years at $9 million, I'm not blinking an eye at that. Jamal Williams should be part of the perfect Detroit Lions free agency class. Who else is on your list, though? Because I know it's not just Jamal Williams.
It's another former Lion. And to me, I think this is going to be one of their targets in terms of who they bring back. I think DJ Shark is going to be one of those guys. And I'm growing okay with the idea. And I'm going to tell you why. I feel like the Lions are now. I think this is probably gonna upset you. I don't think they're gonna try to bring on J-Mo as like this elite number 1 guy right away. I think they're gonna ride out with playing through Amon-Ra as their number 1, making some big splash plays to J-Mo. Now, which I think I agree with you. If you're gonna trade up to go get him, he's got to be looking like your number 1 at certain points or a lot of points this season. I agree with you on that, but I don't think that's what we're gonna see. So I think if that's the plan, they might bring back DJ for maybe 2-3 years, and I can see that happening, be coming in as a number 3. They want to be able to spread it out between those 3 guys. Jared Goff did a good job last year, especially in the second half of the season. Well, not so much with J-Mo, but spreading it out, he did well. So I think that's going to be a part of their plans, and I think I'm okay with it considering what we saw from DJ Shark in the second half of the year.
I don't know, man. SpotRec has his market value at $9.5 a year, and they suggest 3 years at $28 million. which seems like a very high number, especially when they compare him to players like Tim Patrick, Nelson Aguilar, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Russell Gage. That does not bode confidence for me. I don't love re-signing Chark, and I'm going to be honest with you because I feel like there's cheaper, better number 3 options out there for you.
In what, free agency, or you mean like the draft?
Or maybe even in the draft, but not before the 3rd round. For the love of everything that is holy, not before the 3rd round. And I understand that can be difficult to try to like navigate and figure out, but at the same time, like, am I paying $28 million, 9.5 over 3 years to a guy that's being compared to Tim Patrick, Russell Gage? Like, is that...
You know he's better than those guys, though. You know he's better than them.
Is he, though? Was he, though? Like, he wasn't necessarily... He had a decent, like, second half of the season once him and Goff got on the same page, and maybe there's something to be said about familiarity and them being on the same page to start the season. But, I mean, my goodness, man. I don't know. I mean, at a certain point, you need somebody to run across the middle. You can't just have Chark and Williams taking the tops off the defenses, because then both of them become ineffective.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think there's different ways to address the wide receiver thing, but I get it. He's your guy.
He has some tough over-the-middle catches. DJ has some over-the-middle catches.
Speaking of,
the Green Bay catch was over the middle to close the game.
Sure. But speaking of over-the-middle catches, if we're going to spend money on a receiving option, one of my guys would be Dalton Schultz, the tight end from Dallas.
Oh.
Who actually has better comparables than DJ Chark. But yes, he is going to cost a little bit more too. He's going to cost about $15 per season. But he's getting...
So you be okay...
Hold on. He's getting compared to like Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert in Philadelphia. That's what Spot Rack compares him to. Now, do I love necessarily the idea of signing a $15 million a year tight end? I don't. But I was looking through the free agent pool. I didn't love it. I didn't I don't know why I didn't. I couldn't find like the right age and number. Like, do we want to sign Fletcher Cox to be a defensive interior lineman? Do we want to sign a Robbie from San Francisco or one of those guys? Like, I just didn't love the options at corner. I have a linebacker on my list. I didn't. So I was like, well, let's spend free agent money on tight end and address defense through the draft.
But I think... Okay, so you'll be okay with pay, because again, it's not going to be cheap to get him. And even as an over-the-middle guy, like, he has some flashes as that, but he's more valuable as a red zone guy. And I think, as we both talked about and agreed on, you want a tight end, look at one late. You can find one that work. You saw how productive the 3 rookies they had were. And, I mean, they didn't really use them a lot, but in the spots that they needed them, they came up big. So, I would much rather I wouldn't even consider the suggested contract you just said for DJ Chark as much of an overpay as compared to what you would have to give for Schultz at tight end.
Listen, if you're going to spend money on tight end, I would give the money to Schultz before I gave it to Hockenson, which they kind of proved to be true, right? Because they ended up trading Hockenson. I think Schultz is better than Hockenson. I don't know. I just think it solidifies that offense, right? Are you going to get the same type of production from your 3-headed monster tight end that you did last year? I'm not going to say that you're not. You could potentially.
Yeah, he may be.
But having that weapon at tight end is huge for an offense like ours, especially when Jared Goff prefers to complete the ball underneath 10 yards. He just simply does. He can get it deep if necessary. He's got to figure out his accuracy deep. But that 10 yards and under is where he makes his money, and Schultz is an option. That's all I'm saying. Schultz is an option.
Let me ask you this, then I'll go to mine. Would you rather sign Schultz or gamble on a tight end early, let's say like the 2nd or 3rd round?
And you put me on the spot now.
I mean, little pops on the fly.
So if there's a defensive player that they like Jordan Poyer, like I saw him, I was like, okay, potentially. Devin Bush was another like linebacking option that I thought was relatively cheap too, but he really hasn't like produced well recently. I was not impressed with any of the corners though. And as far as safety went, I couldn't. So I was like, well, let's address a different need. Let's address tight end. That's where I went. That's where I went.
That's fair.
Where'd you address number 3 though? You got Chark, you got Williams. Who's your third guy?
Number 3 is a cornerback with a lot of upside. I really want to see Jamel Dean in the Honolulu Blue jersey next season. I think he would really fit in this defense. Hopefully, again, he's a big case where I think he'll probably not going to be back in Tampa Bay because of his injury history, and I think that's why he's going to be on the market and probably in a different jersey this offseason. But I think he has a lot of upside, good cover skills, great tackler, as a lot of the Tampa Bay secondary players are. I think Todd Bowles did a really good job with them, and I do think he still has a lot of promise. I don't think he would be the number 1 guy you would want. I still would like to see them either draft or get aggressive and get Adam Marshawn Lattimore or Jalen Ramsey, but I think Jamel Dean would fit in a trio with like Okuda and then maybe Jerry Jacob as your dime package corner as well. I think Jamel Dean would be a perfect fit here.
And that's kind of something that I was thinking about too when I was looking at this. I was like, well, if I don't like any of these corner options, I'm going to make a trade potentially, or I'm going to draft corners head, right? So I like that. I do like that. Not opposed to it, but I thought, okay, the interior of our defense needs help. I don't really see any defensive interior linemen that would be worth maybe ponying up the free agency dollars with, especially with Deron Payne being franchise tagged by the Commanders. So, next level, inside linebacker, Tremaine Edmonds from Buffalo.
From Buffalo,
We're looking at about $11 million a year market value. Get that solid middle linebacking piece that you can put Rodrigo on one side, Derek Barnes on the other side, or potentially Will Anderson if you were to then trade up. And I would say a linebacking core of Rodrigo, Will Anderson, and Tremaine Edmonds to go along with James Houston, Pascal, and Hutchinson would be a relatively good front seven. Especially if in the second, third round you can get a nice interior defensive lineman to package with them. So I think you have to. I like the linebacking class. I think that you can get a decent linebacker in free agency, and I'd like to see them swing for the fences in that sense.
I've seen Leighton Vander Esch.
That's another one
Mentioned as an option that could possibly be intrigued by the Lions.
Potentially, he was on my list. I was like, okay.
You thought about it? Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think linebacker would be a good position to invest in. I think.
Who are we overlooking? Who are we overlooking? And I think that's a question maybe for the audience. In the comments, you need to let us know. Who are we overlooking as far as free agents go? And yes, I know we only did 3. There could be more than 3 big free agent signings, which would be great because then that would adjust the draft strategy. Who did we overlook, Eric? Did we overlook anybody? I legitimately looked through every position. I looked at quarterback, and I almost put a couple on my list. I almost did. Derek Carr was too expensive.
Who? Oh yeah,
please
don't say Derek
Carr. 35.
Yeah, no.
It was insane what his market value was, and then his comparables were like not good. Jimmy G, I think, is too old.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
But might be a serviceable backup. I just don't know what the cost is going to be. And then the third one, you're going to laugh about, but Baker was cheap.
Oh, God.
And listen, they said, Brad Holmes came out on Wednesday and said, we need to get a quarterback to develop. Hold on. We need a quarterback to develop. And I have a feeling, this is my gut feeling, you can argue with me all you want. They're probably going to sign a free agent quarterback and draft a quarterback, is my feeling. Because they have nobody else behind Goff right now on the roster. So you get somebody like a Baker at like $6 million a year. For 1 year, you draft somebody later, or depending on what else you do in free agency, maybe take a run at Richardson at 18. And you've got 3 quarterbacks on the roster that are capable. all reports out of Los Angeles last year were that Baker was awesome and people loved him. And I think he would fit. That's all I'm saying. I don't think he wins you games, but...
So what is he? Can he get you some, commercials? Baker's house? Can he bring that to wherever he goes next?
Cork Field.
Wherever this new place is. Someone in the comment section to one of our News Desk videos brought up a very good idea. And I'm actually kind of on board with it for the backup free agent option.
All right.
Gardner Minshew. He'd be cheaper than Baker and just as good.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Wheel on that.
How can I say no to the Fu Manchu? Gardner Minshew, right?
Yeah, he'd be fun in Detroit, I feel like.
Sure.
He'd be a fan favorite
he'd probably
here.
fit in with Rodrigo and his cowboy hats and Dan Campbell.
I can see that.
That'd be fine with me. I've got no problem with that. I just look for them to at least sign one quarterback in free agency. And then I think it's going to be, I don't know. If you don't like any of the tight ends and you feel like you got to reach to get one, you try to sign one in free agency. And so that's who I did. I got Tremaine Edmonds, I've got Jamal Williams, I've got Dalton Schultz as my maybe top 3 targets. You're sitting there with Jamel Dean, DJ Chark, and Jamal Williams. So you're retaining Lions, and I'm only re-signing one of them.
I'm surprised by that. Very silent.
If your free agent list were the only 3 people they signed in the offseason, how would you feel?
Not happy.
Yeah.
So you're saying it in terms of who they signed, so they maybe can still trade.
These were the big splash signings.
You know what? I'd be okay with it. I can live with that. If Jamel Dean is maybe one of your biggest acquisitions and you bring back 2 of your most productive guys on offense too, I would be okay with it. Because I didn't want to see them jump out the window on a Deron Payne.
No.
I was only going to see if you could try to finesse, but you got franchise tag. He's going to get paid sooner or later.
Yeah,
I'll be okay with that.
Even if all 3 of my guys were signed, specifically Tremaine Edmonds, I'd feel good about that. But I would still feel like it's incomplete. I would still feel like they needed to make one more, big signing.
Well, how big? Because you say you didn't want them to make a splash. Like, what would, you mean in terms of like a player returning or like Bobby Wagner or something like that?
Yeah, I guess I am talking out of both sides of my mouth, ain't I?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just making sure.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I misspoke and said big splash, but complimentary to the 3 that I named.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Like 3,
fair.
Okay, but that doesn't really move the needle for me. I feel like we need, if it was like a combination of our list, like let's say all 5 of these players, because one of ours is the same, got signed, that'd be a pretty good offseason.
Yeah.
You address corner, you address linebacker, you address tight end, and you got your wide receiver, which means you don't have to draft one in the draft. That'd be fantastic.
Right.
It'd be great. I don't know.
I'll be down with that.
I don't know. Free agency kicks off on March 15th, so we've got just a little bit of about 2 weeks until that is going to kick off, which is going to be insane. And you need to keep tuning in here to Beyond the Box to get the latest reactions and the latest content from Detroit Sports Nation. But before we sign off, Eric, we have a new segment that we want to talk about. And we don't know what we're calling it yet. We'll figure it out. You can even vote for it in the comments if you want to. Eric and AJ's Box of Fun, grab bag, who cares? We'll call it whenever we want, but here's what it is. It's a collection of segments that could just be totally random. And the question tonight is this: what is your dirty sports secret? The one secret that you do not want anybody to know, and yet we are broadcasting for everyone. Eric, I'm gonna let you go first. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, man. All right. So I had a great basketball career in high school. I had a lot of fun. It's a pretty good player, tough time in North Farmington. Shout out NFHS, class of 08. There was a time in my junior year, I believe it was, where we had just come back from a road trip. We didn't play the tournament, I think just before the Christmas holiday. And we were supposed to watch film on, I think it was the Saturday, I think it was the Sunday that we returned, in school. We were supposed to meet up in school and go in there. And I was not feeling it. I played like garbage. I was getting dogged out by coach. I did not want to see that film worth nothing.
Sure.
Do you know what it's like in film when you know you missed a play and they pause and everybody's looking at you just that's some tough accountability as a kid. So I did not face it. I did not want to face it. And like an absolute idiot, I called coach. Hey coach, I'm not feeling it today. I actually got to go into the hospital and I need to get checked on. Coach says, Eric, it's Sunday. I'm like, damn. Not even thinking in my head, like I'm thinking it's Saturday or just like maybe Monday back in. I'm just completely out of it and just in a ball of shame, glass case of emotion. And I'm like, oh my God, it is Sunday. And I showed up too. Like, we'll see you when you get here. I'm like, oh man, I had to run so much of my life the next day.
Yeah,
that was
you lied to your coach.
Brutal, yeah. So time to go, shit. I apologize, but he laughed about it. I came back after I graduated, and he remembered the story too. We laughed about it. You know, he asked how I was doing, but yeah, that was gonna stick with me for a minute.
Yeah, you never want to relive the bad games.
Oh no! Oh my
never,
gosh!
Never.
Like we won like some of them, but like some of the games, I had some bad turnovers. I was just sloppy and just I knew they were gonna give it to me in the film. I couldn't do it.
Okay, Eric, I have a confession.
What's yours? Let me
to
get.
make.
Okay.
And there's some people that know this about me, and I feel kind of bad about it, but at the same time, it's just part of who I am. It's part of my childhood. But my dirty sports secret, I grew up an Ohio State fan.
What in the world?
I know, it's bringing a tear to my eyes.
What kind of twist to the origin story is this? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, from the moment I was about 6, 7 years old. We had a really good family friend who played for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And so I grew up going to Columbus and wearing Ohio State gear. Even went down to their media day in 1995, the year that they won the Rose Bowl in 96, and got a media day photo with Eddie George that was signed by Eddie George that I still have because I was an Ohio State fan growing up, and I was an Ohio State fan until 2007. The fall of 2007.
That's a long time, bro.
It is a long time. But my brother got a walk-on scholarship to the University of Michigan and played football there, and so my allegiance very quickly was able to change. I'm sorry. I know you think
I don't even think
that's
fair. I don't even think that's fair.
It's not
no,
fair.
It shouldn't have changed that quick. It should not have changed that quick.
Hold
you
on
should
a
stick
second.
to your guns.
No, blood loyalty, man. Blood is
You said
than anything.
So I'm sorry. You said he walked on and played for Michigan
And got a scholarship.
They got a scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay.
He played with Chad Henne and Mike Hart his first year. They beat Tim Tebow in the Capital One Bowl. So I was there for the Capital One Bowl.
So he was. Okay.
He was there. And then we went into the dark ages of Rich Rod, and he finished out his next 3 years under Rich Rod.
You know what? That's actually a badge of honor for him because that's one of the last great teams. Like, even though they had the Appalachian State loss, they still, like I said, to beat Tebow. They were one of the one teams. But no, I'm not giving you no flag. You should still be an Ohio State fan right now.
No, man, go blue.
Oh, and he's got the shirt. Oh, you are shameless. Oh my goodness!
Come on,
I cannot believe
What's
you.
wrong with that?
This is absolute treachery.
Wow.
No, see, you know what? This is a perfect time too because we talked about this actually a perfect time in season because these kind of fans, to me, are unforgivable type fans, and I think if we were to do what we've been talking about for March Madness, I think what you're doing as a fan is. I don't even want to say it's not bandwagon jumping. It's not bandwagon. But hopping from rival to rival, hopping from rival to rival is not acceptable.
But it has nothing to do with Michigan becoming ultimately better than Ohio State. It has nothing to do with that because
you're right.
I entered at the lowest point. I mean, you got it.
I'll give you. You're brave for that, yes.
Come on.
But you should not still be. I can't ride with that. You should be giving your brother stuff every time y'all eat at the dinner table. You should be ragging him when Ohio State was winning.
We grew up
because
we grew up in Michigan.
You were riding with them. That was your team.
I understand that, but listen, man, I get it. Ohio State has had more success than Michigan over the last few years, but for you to call me treacherous.
Yeah, that's treacherous.
No, man, come on.
Rival to rival isn't that's like, to me, I believe there are unspoken rules for fans in sports. Rival to rival is not acceptable. Never.
Well,
never.
Fine,
that could be another segment. Unspoken rules.
Sure.
Rival to rival fandom is not acceptable.
You have no leeway for the fact that my family actually became a football player at the University of Michigan.
My brother didn't play sports, but let's say he did. I'm not riding. I'm sticking with who I am.
Team though, you're like, oh, I mess with Michigan State a little bit, and I also hate Jim Harbaugh, but I'm happy for them. I have no loyalty. That's what you say.
I'm a Specs Howard graduate. I'm allowed to play neutral in them conversations.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful feeling.
My goodness.
But in terms of my college football fandom, yes. NFL, it would be no different. Like, let's say my pops played pro for the Bulls, and I'm a Piston fan. I'm not giving him no bail. I mean, yeah, it would be cool to root for him occasionally, but if they played and my fandom is with the Pistons, you gotta take this L. I'm sorry.
I don't believe
my
you.
Fandom.
First of all, I don't believe. I think you're lying through your teeth right now.
No way.
And here's why I think you're lying through your teeth. Number one, if your pops played for the Bulls, you wouldn't have grown up a Detroit Pistons fan.
You know what? That's fair. So let me say my brother then. So let's say sibling to sibling, like your situation. Easily, I'm rooting against my brother. Easily rooting against him.
Okay.
My pops is different, yes, because I'll be looking up to him.
Listen, I put loyalty to the family above everything else. Call me a treacherous fan if you want, but I'm telling you,
rival, bro.
It is what
That's
it is.
The rivalry. Ooh.
I know it's the rivalry,
man.
but look, I'm happy wearing my maize and blue. Go blue. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. It's great. I wore this sweatshirt on purpose.
Where you got some khakis on? Is there any part of you that does root for Ohio State still?
We have talked about this. I work from home. Why would I wear khakis? I literally live in sweatpants. Why would I do that? I
don't know where your fandom goes at this point. So I don't even know if I believe you. I don't even know if I believe it. Is there any part of you that still roots for Ohio State?
No. Except...
Not at all?
No,
it's
hold
all absolved?
Hold on. I am not one of those people that's like, Ohio State.
Okay.
Well, let me say it this way. Had Michigan not been in the college football playoff this year, or maybe not even if they had won, but if they're playing in a bowl game that has no direct impact on the University of Michigan, I want them to win for the Big Ten success.
Okay. I'm mad at you. I really am. But you know what? Like you said, because family. No, I'm not changing my mind. No, I'm not giving you no bail, bro. Nah, I'm not. I was about to let you go. I can't, bro. Nah, that's not forgivable. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
All right. Well, we'll have to figure this out because listen, I'm glad that I made the switch. You know, young, impressionable child. It just is. You kind of end
whatsoever.
up. It's not true. Actually, I think this proves loyalty.
No.
It proves loyalty that I went to the worst team at the time and became a fan of them because of who my brother was.
Your brother was probably shocked too. He said,
"No."
You want us now? I mean, he was shocked when he first saw it.
I mean, the whole family. The moment you went to Michigan, we were like, "Oh, there goes all the Ohio State stuff." It's just
tell him to hit us up on the show.
That's the way that the Riley family works. We got each other's back, regardless of what.
Bring him on the show. Bring him on the show. I want to talk about this.
He won't.
He won't do it.
Nah.
Oh,
probably not.
Okay.
He might.
Right.
I'll talk to him, but I doubt it.
Please, yeah, holla at him. Holla at him for me.
We'll see. Well, hey, that worked out for a pretty good last segment. And I'm sorry that I made you mad at me and call me horrendous names like a treacherous fan and a lot. Like, man, come on.
Hopping on rivalries. You cannot. I still love you though, man.
All right, good.
I still
and
love
you'll do the show with me next week?
I'll think about it.
Okay, good.
We'll talk after the show.
Because next week we're going to start getting into a little bit, maybe more free agency, but we want to start talking about the NFL draft too because
yes,
we will be live for the very first round of the NFL draft. We did it
Yes,
last
sir.
year with DSN. We will be doing it this year with our other colleague, Dylan Bear, who will be there with us. You can probably see him all over TikTok. But us three are going to
sir.
hold it down for you on draft night, so we want to start getting you prepared for that. Maybe some mock drafts. We would love to go live and do a fan-created mock draft as well. So we will talk all about that in the next show next week, right at the beginning of the week. We will see you then. I'm AJ, he's Eric. This has been Beyond the Box, your favorite Detroit sports show. Make sure you like and subscribe at YouTube and pound that bell for notifications when the content drops. We will see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.